Well, hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. We are talking about 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie, excuse me, who has been missing for 37 days now or more. And tonight we are learning about more things about the camera, more not so good things about the sheriff, and a lot to talk about. So gather around. Let's get it all started on the other side of this.
I've walked through storms in scars and grace, smile through pain with a painted face. They called me too loud, too much, too strong, but honey, that's the reason I belong.
The song, Ginger.
Every scar's a scripture, every tear's a hymn. I found my worth where the light grew dim. They tried to break me, but here's a twist. I turned my pain into a clenched fist. I'm an unbreakable woman, born of fire and pearl. I shine like grace in a reckless world.
Lord, really.
You can test my faith, you can shake my plan, but I'll rise again. Just watch me I've been whispered about and written off, judged by the gloss, not the cause. But God don't build weak hearts from gold. He made me fierce and He made me bold. I bend, I pray, I roar, I rise with mascara, tears and battle cries. Don't need your crown, I forge my own. From ashes, honey, I build my throne. I'm an unbreakable soul, dressed in truth and pearls. The fire don't scare me, it lights my world. You can doubt my voice, but you'll hear my name. I'm holy and hood, and I'm done with shame. For everyone called too much, too loud, too real. You're not to anything. You're exactly what power looks like. I'm an unbreakable soul, through the fight and flame. My scars are stories, my strength, my faith. Faith in my heart, fire in my curls, forever divine. Clutch them pearls.
Coming in clutch, better tighten them pearls, dropping cold facts. Got the truth for the world, no smoke, no fluff, just the real that we trust. Hold on to your seat, cause I'm coming in clutch.
So much, Annie. Very kind of you, my love. Appreciate that. Let's go.
Coming in clutch, better tighten them pearls, dropping cold facts. Got the truth for the world, no smoke, no fluff, just the real that we trust. Hold on to your seat, cause I'm coming in clutch. Coming in clutch.
Yes.
Coming in clutch, better tighten the pearls, dropping cold facts. Got the truth for the world, no smoke, no fluff, just the real that we trust. Hold on to your seat, cause I'm coming in clutch. Coming in clutch.
Well, hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. Really do appreciate your time. You could have chosen to be anywhere on YouTube. You have a lot of options anywhere on the internet, anywhere in the world, and you chose to be right here. I know your time is very valuable, and I do appreciate you spending some time with me. Today is March 10th, 2026. It is currently 6:56 p.m. in the East Coast of the United States. Bonjour. How you doing? How you doing, everyone? Good to see you all. Really do appreciate your time. Tonight we're talking about the Nancy Guthrie case. My God, when you guys think it cannot get any stranger, it does. It does. Brian Entin had a really good interview last night with one of the neighbors who really spilled the tea. What's going on in the neighborhood? And it was a really, really good interview that we did go over last night. If you missed that one, make sure you watch Brian for the full interview and all that. And we talk over some of it. But the neighbor had lived there since like 1981 and had seen people, come and go out of the neighborhood. She said on January 11th, she saw a very strange man from her bathroom, so much so that she mentioned it to her husband. And if you remember, police was very interested, FBI was very interested in January 11th. And it wasn't because she called them and said, hey, it was about January 11th when this guy was there. It just happened to be she was talking, this guy happened to be there on the 11th, and they were also interested on the 11th. Plus some very weird things about the FBI and all of that. A lot to talk about this evening. Sheriff Nanos back in the news, did some interviews, all of that. He is also has a big lawsuit right now that is just broke in the last couple days. That's kind of been in the news. We'll go over some of that and so much to go over this evening. So, guys, before we get started, if you don't mind, you know what I'm going to ask. Do me a big favor and please hit that thumbs up button. Greatly appreciate that. Also, share the live out. Would mean so much to me after this live. If you would hype the video, would just be amazing. It's a free way to help the channel. You get like 3 hypes a week, I think it is. I think my channel can finally be hyped. So yeah, good to see you all. Hello, chat. Good to see you. Good to see you. Hopefully you all are having a good day. We are at Tuesday. Tomorrow's hump day. So it's beautiful here. Beautiful weather. Spring is hopefully springing. Time change. We're getting used to that. All that stuff. I sent you an email, Sassy says, about him last night after that. Okay, Sassy, thank you so much. Good to see you. Hello, Rapper, Laura, Casey, Ginger, Mama Dukes, Franklin, Michelle, Sherry, Sheila, Linda, The Real ICU, Ginger, Glory, Trisha, or Trish, good to see you. Brian, hey, friend, how are you doing? Rach, good to see you. Wendy, Miss Daly, Susan, Mama Dukes, Tina, good to see you. Fine Summer, hello. Farm Dog Mama, we're so happy you're here. Love Brian Ensign's interview with the neighbor. So much info that I can't recall hearing before. Lot there, yes. Hello, Miss Michelle. Good to see you. Miss Wendy, 21 months. Thank you so much, my friend, for your support. Really do appreciate my continued support. Thanks for keeping us updated with that. Thank you, my love. Really do appreciate you. Thank you for your kindness and your support. Really do appreciate that. I need to thank Miss Sammy. Thank you for gifting 5 memberships. I do appreciate it. And good to see you. If you guys got one of those memberships, make sure you thank our dear friend Sammy. And thank you for being a member.
I hope people are paying attention to this.
Welcome to Clutch Them Pearls, yeah, you're in the clue. Shine bright like the stars, this world never knew. We're dancing, laughing all around this world. Hold tight, shine bright, you're part of our world.
Thank you so much, Miss Sammy. Really do appreciate you, my love. Good to see you, friend. And Ann Elizabeth, thank you so much, my darling. Appreciate you. Thank you for your support. Really do appreciate you, my love. And Miss Kathy, hello, darling. Good to see you. Really do appreciate you. Thank you so much for renewing your membership, my love. And Melanie, thank you so much. Really bless everyone. I hope everyone have a good day. With the life. And good bless. Thank you so much, Miss Melanie. Thank you for that message and your support and being a member as well, my dear. Good to see you. And Catherine says 15 months. Just renewed your rock schedule. I appreciate you very, very much, Miss Catherine. Good to see you. Hello, Baba Ro. Bad to the bone. Good to see you, my friend. Thank you so much. Every time I keep the news coming. I am digging constantly. All hours. Thank you so much, Bad to the Bone. Really do appreciate you. Hopefully you are well, my friend. Hey, Deb, good to see you. Great. Wendy. Oh, thank you so much, Miss Canadian Cookie, for gifting that necklace. My necklace. We appreciate you, my dear. How you doing? You receive that? Make sure you give that girl, Miss Canadian Cookie, a big, big thank you. Thank you so much, my love. And Laura, good to see you, my friend. Deb, Robin, everyone coming in. Hey, Roxy, good to see you all. Okay, so want to talk about Megyn Kelly. She just dropped something very interesting a little bit ago, and we have spoken on these cameras before, right? It's nothing new. We've spoken on these cameras, but question is this outage that is now being reported, do you guys think, okay, first of all, the question is with, and I have a survey, a poll rather, down below. Do you think that this person that the neighbor saw on January 11th, do you think it is related to the Nancy Guthrie case? This strange man, again, this neighbor said she'd lived there since like 1981. She said it's probably the first strange person that she has seen just walking with their hat down in the direction of Nancy's place. Do you think it's related? Yes or no in the chat. What do you guys think about that? Thank you so much, Canadian, for gifting another pearl necklace, my friend. Appreciate you. I'll be honest with you. I find it very compelling, and I'll tell you why. A couple reasons. Number one reason is I trust the neighbor. Number one, I really trust her. And again, she said she hadn't seen anybody like that in the neighborhood in 10 or so years. Number two, she says it was right after her birthday. She said the 11th, maybe 10th, maybe 12th, but likely the 11th. And then the FBI was asking about the 11th specifically. I find that very interesting, not because the FBI wasn't asking just because she had mentioned this guy or anything. And this person supposedly had like a ball cap, head down, kind of hunched over as well. I find it very interesting. Second of all, this video that we have, again, we don't know if it's the same night. It could be a different night. We don't really know. But if it is a separate night, that makes it even more suspicious, in my opinion. And if there was this blackout or whatever, this shows, and if that guy was there previous, this shows a lot of premeditation and a lot of thought that went into Nancy's disappearance, right? Looking around, she said to, yeah. Terry says, hell no. She contradicted herself more than once. She just wanted to be seen on TV. Really, Terry? You think so? Um, hmm. What do you think she contradicted herself about? Just curious. I appreciate the fact that you're disagree with me, actually. So because I always want to kind of know, like, what your thoughts are on that. Two California teenagers were arrested following a home invasion in Scottsdale, Arizona. Yes. Yep. We covered that, SD. I mean, it's crazy. Teenagers. You know what I mean? She was Twitter pated with Brian, in my opinion. What's Twitter pated? I think she spoke truth. I think she spoke truth. I think she probably is a people pleaser. But just because she's a people pleaser doesn't mean it was untruth, because she, according to her, she said these things to the FBI. Right. So, hey, Butterfly Kisses, good to see you, my friend. Butterfly Kisses, thank you so much. 24 months. You are a rock star, girlfriend. Thank you. So that's good. Appreciate the media. I think she was nervous, and she also wanted to give the world a view. Yes. Yeah, kind of nice to see. And it's a lot. It's a lot to be, especially when you're not used to cameras. And you're just living your life, living in your neighborhood, and an 84-year-old person goes missing, and you're not used to the cameras in front of you or anyone like that in your house interviewing you. And, you got the dog there, the family, all of that. Like, it can be a lot. So, but I wonder if the Scottsdale, Arizona crime has a connection to the crime against Nancy. The boys were recruited anonymously from online. Well, we do know that it's getting more and more prevalent, these cryptocurrency crimes. However, there's nothing to really suggest this is a scam like that. You know what I mean? There's really nothing. I mean, to me, if it was really about that, the ransom, when they were asking for the ransom, they wouldn't have waited several days, 3-4 days after Nancy went missing. You know what I mean? So there's that. All right, guys, please do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button, and would appreciate if you would share the live out. We're going to go to Megyn Kelly right now, and she has a couple people on her panel. Make sure you sub up to Miss Megyn Kelly. I'm going to drop her link right here as well. Let me put her link in my chat. Whoops. Here we go. Oops. Wrong one. Let me see here. Megyn. She spells it with an H, doesn't she? Full credit. Kelly. Okay. I always try to put it in the description so I don't forget. Okay. Here we go. Very interesting, I think this is. Check this out. Maybe. There we go. Okay. Let's get it started. Here we go.
Spoke with our pal Ashley Banfield about what could have happened. All right. And here's SOT 53, him is speculating on what could have happened at 147 versus 212 here.
Really, the only thing is they wanted to make sure their Wi-Fi deauthentication device was ready to go. So they rode by, checked it from the street, was able to hit
A
that
Wi-Fi
Wi-Fi
jammer.
unit and make sure that it was actually receiving that signal, and then came back a little bit later and hoped it was still working.
And it wasn't.
Right. That's exactly right. Is when they walked up, it was definitely not working.
In
Okay, hold on one second.
Wi-Fi deauthentication.
SOT 53, him
One second.
is speculating on what could have happened at 147 versus 212 here.
Really, the only thing is they wanted to make sure their Wi-Fi deauthentication device was ready to go. So they rode by, checked it from the street, was able to hit
A
that
Wi-Fi
Wi-Fi
jammer.
unit and make sure that it was actually receiving that signal, and then came back a little bit later and hoped it was still working.
and it wasn't.
Right. That's exactly right. Is when they walked up, it was definitely not working.
In plain English, that means that they may have tested the jammer at 147 and it's disabled because it's jammed. They drove away for whatever reason and then came back at 212 and it had reignited again and was back up and running and now captured this image.
That's right. And perhaps
And this is the thing. I am still not very convinced that there's a Wi-Fi jammer, to be quite honest with you. They are becoming more prevalent. They are highly illegal. There is different types of Wi-Fi jammers. There is Wi-Fi jammers that can take out a house or two, and then there's some that can take out a whole block. To me, the Wi-Fi jammer requires a lot of thought. Also, how you acquire rather that Wi-Fi jammer is really going to matter, right? If you're like Brian Koberger, and buy something off Amazon or Walmart, that's going to be really, really damning for you later on. And I really don't think, maybe you can, but I really can't imagine you being able to go to a local store and buying a Wi-Fi jammer. To me, it's something that's going to have to be very much special ordered. However, sometimes criminals have people order things for them, and they're given, criminals don't actually follow the law all the time. Nonetheless, to me, it seems like a lot. You can get them. Yes, you can. They're not really terribly expensive. Hey, Ward, good to see you. Miss Eureka, Amy, good to see you. Hey, Betty, good to see you.
when he walked up, it wasn't running in his pocket.
Okay, so the theory being that the perp had a Wi-Fi jammer. He tested it at 147 and it worked. It successfully turned off Nancy Guthrie's Wi-Fi. But by the time he went back at 212, it had turned back on, which is why he got caught on camera. And those images were recoverable by the FBI. This does dovetail somewhat with the
Okay. Second thing, if you do this Wi-Fi jammer, are you still going to take the camera? Are you still going to take the camera as well? I mean, I think it would help, the criminal if they took the camera as well. I don't know. I'm just not really buying it.
neighbor's home near Nancy, who's now saying that their Wi-Fi stopped working for a time on the night Nancy went missing. Here is, this is video 50 where Brian Entin shows us this. Let's take a look. Okay, so he's just showing us that that's Nancy's house, and he's at the neighbor's house where the Wi-Fi went, where the cameras are, and where their Wi-Fi stopped working.
Okay. Second point. Why is it just this camera, just this home that supposedly stopped working? Now, what I do find interesting is it's this home, and it's only the 2 cameras that is pointed toward Nancy's home. That is what's really strange to me. That is something that doesn't sit well with me, to be quite honest with you. Not saying that they're involved or anything by any stretch of the imaginations, but these are wired cameras. Wired cameras, it's 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 harder to screw with them than it is just a Wi-Fi camera, just a regular Wi-Fi camera. However, I guess I'm trying to think if they're wired, but they're still on the, on the internet. You could knock out the internet and, it may not record that way. But like a traditional security surveillance camera that has like a DVR box or something like that, you really can't do the Wi-Fi jammers. But these are Nest cameras. They are wired, but they still, I'm sure, are technically on the internet, right? Yep, you can find them right on Amazon. Right on Amazon. There's different powers of them, of the jammers. But why this one? Why this one? I'm sure there's got to be others in that area that have cameras. Was theirs not taken out at this certain time?
The night that Nancy went missing. I don't know. This is awfully coincidental, Will, that you've got the neighbor's Wi-Fi that night that stops working. It's the camera stopped working. I mean, we can presume, I guess, it's possibly Wi-Fi related. And there's been a lot of speculation, as you know, about whether what was in his pocket, the patio suspect, was a Wi-Fi jammer.
Yeah, so the first thing I'd want to check, Megyn, is the timestamp of the neighbor's outage of their Wi-Fi to see whether there is any indication of this corresponding at the same time as Nancy's being taken out or being utilized. I mean, using Wi-Fi jammers is not that difficult. You can get them in a reasonably small size, but you can also check them. I've used them myself. On operations and projects. And what you can find is it will knock out not just the Wi-Fi, but 3G, 4G, 5G as well. And you can test it remotely. You don't have to necessarily go up to the target location and test it there. You would generally have it on you. You would check it, make sure it's running. And again, depending on where it might be inserted, if it was put into the rockery at the front of the property as in what we call a green option, so it's disguised or camouflaged, and then it knocks out the Wi-Fi, that's always a possibility. But they're relatively easy to get your hands on, Megyn. And if you do have any kind of Wi-Fi connected cameras, yep, they will knock them out.
But this is the thing. I need to learn about these, because these are older Nest cameras. They're very much older. They are wired, though. So my question is, if they're wired, most wired cameras you can't knock out. But again, I'm sure these are still online. I don't think they had a subscription. Most people don't, to be honest with you. I don't know why. It's a few bucks like a month or a year. So thank you, Miss Amy.
I mean, our producer, Jake Whitman, who helped us do that Wi-Fi demonstration, remember that we did with the Nest camera?
Yeah, that's really good.
He tells us that when you approach the Nest doorbell camera and it's on, the doorbell button lights up very bright. He says it happens about 6 feet away as you approach. It's impossible to miss. And it tells you that the camera is capturing you, which I suppose is not a great...
No. I don't mean her cameras. I don't mean her cameras. Let me show you what I mean. For those of you that want to see her. I'm talking about these cameras right here. These cameras. These cameras are wired. These are the 2 cameras that they were out. They were out. These 2 cameras right here. And again, they were pointing toward Nancy's home, but again, they're wired. So it's very strange. Regardless, I don't care. Let's just talk about this. Regardless, whether there is a Wi-Fi jammer or not, can we just say, regardless, it's strange that out of all nights, out of all times, these cameras were not working the time Nancy went missing. Like, that's weird. They said that this has never happened before. It's never happened since. To me, regardless, let's take away the fact that there's if there is or if there's not, oh, this Wi-Fi jammer. That's weird. And I don't like it at all. If you and it's the only 2 cameras that is pointing right toward Nancy's home. Thank you, Miss Ginger. Appreciate you, my dear. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Maybe the camera's coming on when he walked on the porch, Entin, because he thought it was jammed. Hence why he picked up the shrubbery like a moron, just speculating. That's very interesting. Very interesting point, Ginger. Now, this is my question because we've looked into Wi-Fi jammers and stuff in other cases, but this is something I haven't heard anybody speak about, and I truly don't know how, because a Wi-Fi jammer is like this little box. How do you know it's jamming? I mean, I guess you could see if there was no Wi-Fi, but again, like if I'm a criminal, I'm not going to have my phone on to see if it's jammed up the network or not, because that would out you, right? So how do you know this Wi-Fi jammer is jamming? You know what I mean? You have an option for the iCloud recording. I have a disk inside the house box that records. Yeah. You probably have an older one though, Franklin, right? Because like I had like my past security system, it was essentially just a computer system, and it had a DVR, and it recorded 30 days of recording on that computer, all cameras, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 30 days, about 30 days. And then, it just kept recording. And as, the next day went along, one day would be missing and so on and so forth. So, hardwired, there was an app where you could see like if you were away or whatever. But you see these Nest cameras, they generally they don't have like a system inside. It's generally, maybe the older ones do, but thank you, Brandy. I don't see there being like this big system inside, because that's the whole point about these types of cameras. They're on the cloud. You don't have to have the system inside your home or whatever. You can just pull it up on any of your devices, right? Hey, Army Vet, good to see you, my friend. Hey, Thomas, good to see you. Really do appreciate you, my friend. First, the neighbors are the Wi-Fi in that area is not the best. Third, how would Nancy's phone show disconnection from the pacemaker? Okay. All right. First, the neighbors are away. You talking about the woman who interviewed last night? She was gone when Nancy went missing. I don't know about the rest of her family. The Wi-Fi in that area is not the best. I don't know if it was the Wi-Fi or if it's the cell service. You know what I mean? Because they said the cell service wasn't that great in the area. The third, how would Nancy's phone show disconnection from the pacemaker? Okay, so generally, whenever there's usually a little box, it's a little brain, if you will, that connects to your Wi-Fi, and your phone will also connect to an app, and your data from your heart will connect to the phone, and that phone will also submit results of your not results, your data rather, to that device. Does that make sense? So she would be using her Wi-Fi. She would be using her Wi-Fi. Nancy's phone shows disconnection from pacemaker. So whenever, let me think here. Whenever her phone goes off, or her smartwatch, either one, it's not going to be sending data from what I understand. She had an app for the pacemaker, correct? Yeah. I listened to Banfield and she compared the case to another Nancy. The perp was the painter and he did it all alone. I really think this was a group of people. I think there was more than one person here. I'll be honest with you, the more I look and hear this, I'm not trying to blame anybody or anything, but because this was close to the 11th, she had electrical work done. I need to go back and pull the permit on that, because I think it was like the 8th the permit was for, and nobody's really, I mean, we've brought up the electrician, but nobody's really talking about it as like they've talked about others. You know what I mean? Hey Deb, thank you so much, my friend. Appreciate first internet in around 2 a.m. Nancy did not have a wired camera recording in the clouds. That is correct. Yes, hers was Wi-Fi, and she did not pay for the cloud service. FBI could retrieve it. The perp was not counting on that. 1,000%. 1,000%. They thought, oh, I took the camera. They're not going to be able to get anything. And to me, that makes me wonder how or did this perpetrator or perpetrators know that Nancy didn't have a cloud service? Didn't have a cloud service. And if they did, there's only a few people that's going to know that. That's going to know that she didn't pay for a cloud service, right? Baba says, question, if this was a random kidnapping of someone in the area, who would you rather kidnap? That younger neighbor from last night or an 84-year-old woman? She did not have cameras then. Oh yeah, I mean, if yeah, I see what you're saying. No, yeah, nobody's going to kidnap an 84-year-old woman. You're just not going to kidnap an 84-year-old woman because I mean, there's no reason to kidnap an 84-year-old woman, right? There's it's high risk to kidnap anybody, but again, to kidnap someone who is 84 years old and again, anything really over 80 years old, it's kind of like a bonus, really, because the average, I think the average life in America is like 76, 77 years combined, male and female. Someone with a pacemaker and can't be mobile, not really mobile. Mm-mm. It's just not. Mm-mm. It has to be. Oh yeah, has to be Tina a target. There's you wouldn't be able to convince me otherwise. You know what I mean? Um. Hey, farm dog. Thank you so much, my friend. Very generous. Thank you so much. Good to see you. Thank you so much for your support. I really, really do appreciate that, farm dog mama. Very kind of you. Love your doggy. So cute. Thank you so much. It sits on the chest and sends impulses to the yes. And from what I understand, allegedly hers was a pacemaker defibrillator combo. Uh, so there's
Indicate
right one. It keeps the pace up with your heart, and the other one is if you your heart stops. It right since
for an intruder. That his Wi-Fi jamming is no longer in effect from 147, and that by 212 it's gone off. Which, again, this may not be a Mensa member that we saw in Nancy's patio fits, and he may have found out the hard way when he returned in this video we're watching here that if he had tried to jam it at 147 and now it's 212, that has a limited lifespan.
That's a good point. Good
Yeah, and
point.
Megyn, I remember watching this video with you minutes after it was released, and we were going through it, frame by frame. We were trying to anyway. Well, I mean, this adds to the pre-offense behavior, which I've talked about a few times in the past, and the attempt, at least, a sophisticated, a method of getting in this house and breaking down, any kind of electrical device or communication device. Obviously, in the bombings of Iran, that's being done by the U.S. They're shutting down internet and disabling all kinds of communication devices. Here's something, of course, very much different, very isolated to one home. And this guy went out of his way to buy this. Now, what does that tell you? What did he know about this house and the system contained therein before even going there? To me, that's even more supportive of the fact that he's been to this house before, January 11th or sometime before that, a worker involved with security systems, who knows what, a vendor of some sort. And it's not just chance that you happen to have, a disabling device such as this for the Wi-Fi. I never knew you could buy these type things. I'll be honest with you. I'm sure intel agencies had them, probably the Bureau, et cetera. But I'll go with what Will said. If you can buy these commercially and just use them yourself, I'm not sure there's a legitimate purpose for shutting down someone's Wi-Fi,
right,
other than what this guy's doing. But good for him for at least attempting that, even though it didn't exactly work out. So yeah, not on Men's list, that's for sure.
Megyn,
I mean, I'll
Megyn,
say
if I
this,
can jump
Will.
in there
I'll give you the floor one second, but I will say this: the way you can avoid this at home is hardwire your cameras. Hardwire. You don't rely on the Wi-Fi. Go ahead, Will.
Yeah, well, Wi-Fi is always going to be fallible.
But again, that's the whole thing that I'm saying here. Hardwire, right? We're that's what we're talking about. These cameras appear to be hardwired. That's what has me so confused about this. Let me just show you again. There's the wire. There it is. Can someone take a snapshot of this and put it in AI and ask AI if these cameras will still record if there is a temporary Wi-Fi outage, right? Right. That's why I'm like, there's two cameras, and that's what I say. Like, even if there's no jammer, to me, it's very weird that it's just these two cameras, no other neighbors who say this happened to, and it's the only two pointing at our house, at Nancy's house. Maybe the electricity is hardwired, but the signal was Wi-Fi only. Could be. Could be. But I don't know why. Usually they're like wired or not. You know what I mean? It might just for, I'll look into it, of course, more. But I was just curious because these are clearly older cameras. Clearly older cameras. No wired cameras are wired for a reason. Hardwired signals through wire electricity. It's very bizarre to me. Very bizarre. Don't get it. Very confused on this. Okay. I mean, okay, let's think let's say there's 5, 6 houses around Nancy's place, right? Which there's more than that, but I'm just saying in the immediate area. Probably more than that. Out of these 5 or 6 houses, I'm sure one of them, one human in the house that night was awake around 2:00 in the morning, wouldn't you think? Out of one of these houses on the internet, laying in their bed, did their Wi-Fi go out? That's a good point. Damn, that's a good point. Only an electrician knows this answer. That does make it a little weirder. That does make it a little weirder. While they can record roughly an hour locally temporary outage, they rely on cloud storage. Okay, this is another question. This is another question. These people don't have the cloud storage, though, do they? That is true. Shit, Esty, you're right. They do. They normally use the bite lights. Because you're in those little wires and you're. Have y'all seen a picture of him? It's, oh, God. Sent text earlier on update unrelated. Okay, Linda, thank you. You're only going to use a bite light if, to me, if you have a bite light, right? I just don't see this person buying a bite light for this particular crime. I see them already having it. You know what I mean? Local storage support. If the camera has a built-in SD card slot of internal memory, it can often record video directly. And yes, that is, yes. Some of these cameras, they have, you can put, like the older ones, particularly. Even the new ones, you can put like an SD card in and it'll record. Ex-boyfriend had cam. Thank you so much, Shenanigans. Those cameras were ones put up after. Those cameras were ones put up after the kidnaps. No. The ones we're showing, the ones I just showed, they've been up forever, a long time. They've been up for a long time. Wired DVR, NVR connection. If part of the wired security system connected to the DVR in VR network video recorder, it can record without Wi-Fi because the footage is stored on the recorder. I agree. Looking beyond hardwire, your outdoor cameras, 1 terabyte is equivalent to 500 video hours. It's worth it. Every bit. Yeah. And that's like 1 terabyte. Like that's really good quality too, because 1 terabyte is a lot. You can also hold a normal small flashlight torch in your mouth. You know something, that's a good point, Robert, because I have seen now that you say that, like, I don't know, in the past, like construction guys or something, like looking at something, I've seen them hold a flashlight in their mouth. You know, like the construction guys and all that, I've seen them hold the flashlight in their mouth, like little flashlights. Ex-boyfriend had hardwired cams like this, and each has its own monitor that had a setup in the garage or office, and footage gets stored on the hard drive or device until deleted or set time. Yeah, Giggle, that's what I was saying. That's precisely what I had, but I don't think the Nest cameras had this. I think that was kind of like the whole point of the Nest cameras, is you don't have like something bulky inside your home. It might have like a little box or something, but I don't know. The cops should be investigating, and when work was done and who it was and all who worked in or around the home should be looked into. Absolutely. 1000%. I have never heard of a bite light until you guys talked about it. Well, yeah, this guy, you know something that's in, hold on, let me think about this. When did he put this bite light in his mouth? God, I wish we had that. You know what I mean? Like, when did he put this bite light in his mouth? He had to put it when he was outside there. That's what we're talking about. It's me. Yep. The bite light. That's something. And remember, she did have an electrician in the house right around the 11th. Certainly on the 8th. He had it on approach. Wait a second. Well, maybe we don't see it there because he's got his hand there. Okay.
It's a massive risk, and it's always going to be vulnerable. But to cover off a couple of the points that you and Fitz covered, the first would be the actual camera light coming on to detect, obviously, someone coming to the front door. Now, that will have probably very little to do with the Wi-Fi, and will work on what we call a passive infrared. So it's an intrusion detection. So if any object comes close to it, then the light will switch on. The second thing is with these blockers, as I mentioned, it will also take out all cell phone signals. So if someone's coming in to do, say, a snatch or to break into a property, and they want to disable the communications by anybody inside of the house, other than, of course, the landline, then a blocker is perfect for that because it will knock out, obviously, any cell phone signal and the ability to be able to utilize it.
Well, how does that affect, if at all, the data that Nancy's pacemaker appears to have been communicating with her phone up until 2:28 that night? Well, so like if he was using a Wi-Fi jammer, wouldn't it have presumably knocked out the communication between her cell phone and the pacemaker? I mean, it would have. You're saying it would have shut down the communications of the cell phone.
Absolutely. So that raises a very, very interesting question as to the viability of actually using a blocker. So
8 that night. Well, so like if he was using a Wi-Fi jammer, wouldn't it have presumably knocked out the communication between her cell phone and the pacemaker? I mean, it would have. You're saying it would have shut down the communications of the cell phone.
Absolutely. So that raises a very, very interesting question as to the viability of actually using a blocker, because it would have, I mean, without knowing the make and model of the actual pacemaker, whether it worked on a cached information that as soon as the connection was regained, and that would be the blocker's either switched off or it's gone out of the area, then that information pulses through, or how often it's received actually at the base station or at the monitoring center. Again, if it's permanent and it's constant, which I would imagine it should be with a pacemaker, then yes, any interruption to that signal
ready
should
to show some of that.
activate some sort of alarm or certainly some communication to the user or a monitoring station to say,
and just to
there's been a
clarify,
loss of signal.
Just to clarify, are you saying that in your experience, then a
I don't
Wi-Fi
think he's
jammer
using sign language.
would knock out, not because, we've all had the situation where our Wi-Fi isn't working on our phone, but the cell service will kick in and keep you able to communicate. But are you saying in your experience, a Wi-Fi jammer would shut down both your Wi-Fi and your cell service?
Yes, it would knock out your data. So any kind of internet connection will be knocked out as well. So if you have a combined unit, so there are lots of different types of units out there you can get your hands on, Megyn. There are ones which will literally take out cell phone signals. There are ones which will take out Wi-Fi, and there are ones which are combined that will do them both.
Wow.
Megyn,
This doesn't sound great, James.
Well, no, and we were talking, I think, early on about, as much as we might want to say these people aren't that smart, like I said a long time ago, well, we haven't caught them, so they're not that dumb. And I do want to just highlight, there's a lot of talk within, my circles of FBI folks that, South American South American groups that go around and do these real high-end burglaries that you see with all NFL stars, that this is their MO. That they do pre-operational surveillance, they dress like this, they use jammers, they use burner phones, cell phones. This to me would speak to a lot of what we're seeing here. The inability to have any type of evidence without, for instance, the DNA or any type of, people knowing who these individuals are. Well, if they're coming from out of the country, you're not going to know who they are. Not getting any type of cell phone evidence so far. We haven't seen any updates on that, which we're kind of surprised by. In the last show, we talked a lot about the Bureau's capability. Well, if you're running burner phones, it's really hard to really do anything with that. And then, so that's for me, I think a really good lead that hopefully someone at the Bureau, if Sheriff Nano will let them do it, is working on.
Think about this. In 2006.
Good luck with Sheriff Nanos, which we're going to get to him in a second. I want to show y'all this. This is the electrical permit. This is the electrical permit. Actually, let me do it like this so I can zoom in more so you guys can see it better. Do it like this. Guys, do me a favor. If you're just joining, please hit that thumbs up button. This was her electrical permit. And Nancy Guthrie, all that. It was issued on 9/23/25. It expired on 9/23/26. And it was an electrical upgrade. It wasn't the ampage, if you will, wasn't upped. It was just a 400 amp upgrading it to a newer 400 amp from what I understand. Uh, and From what I understand, I hear it was the 8th, January 8th. So if this jammer jams the cell phones, maybe the disconnection to the pacemaker, it is because she's out of range, but the time of the jammer was used. Well, my second thing is, Belinda, like if you are okay, let's think about this. These people or person was there about 42 minutes or so, right? In my opinion, how does a random person know? Good point. Good point. Good point. Okay. If this person is there 40 some minutes, how long is this are you going to keep this Wi-Fi jammer on for the entire length that you're there? At least 40 some minutes. Yeah, at least. And that's weird in itself, right? I don't think they initially knew about her pacemaker. I think this person did know about the pacemaker only because in my opinion, they knew her. This is just not random. This has to be, in my opinion, someone that would only do this if there is this financial or uh, real ill hostility, right? It's not a completely random but an electrician or internet guy that had at the time recently caused out of the area in her house. Yeah. How do they know Nancy didn't have wouldn't the jammer jam the video of the camera? You would think. You would think, Gypsy, right? It jammed, and again, that's a really good point. So, yeah, she didn't have a cloud, but they were able to get this. And if they're able to get this, right? Why is the two cameras looking at Nancy's backyard? Why are they jammed and they're hardwired? Doesn't make sense. Very good point. Either someone she knows or a friend. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think this could be in my opinion, a hired, you know what I mean? Thank you so much, Jazz. Justin, hardwired will have a battery backup. Yeah, but maybe. I don't know if they all do, but you they would it the batteries doesn't usually last that long though, even if they do. You know what I mean? I'm just very suspicious about these two cameras not having service out of all of them. These two cameras. Mm, very weird. You know, JLR and people that was there, they were videotaping. Comcast was there at Nancy's place. they were at the home for over an hour. He said this at the time. Were they, I mean, were they there to just switch over the internet, or were they there to see if they could get some more data, whatever? I don't think those cameras facing Nancy's were jammed. I think that is why they were in the neighborhood utility box. They need to cut the internet at the house facing Nancy's. So a lot of people are talking about that box. The Sheriff Thanos originally said it was part of the investigation. Then, of course, what he always does, he says it wasn't, it's nothing. It's absolutely nothing, is what he said. So let me show you this right here. There, it's, I don't know about this. Let me show you if I can find it in time. There's some information about this that I thought I still had it up. Maybe I don't. Let me check this right here. Maybe it's up and down. Okay, here we go. I'll shade this.
And
The actual
investigates where is 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie. I am in her neighborhood. And check this out. There's an electrical box that has been ripped open and wires everywhere here, or some sort of utility box here. Now, this box here is a mystery because it is literally 1 block away from where Nancy Guthrie lives. Her road is right over the hill there, Camino Escalante. I am at the corner of La Zarella and Mina Vista, which is about a block away from her street here. And there was a lot of mystery surrounded this thing right here because this box was wide open. Why is it a mystery? Because at the time, Nancy Guthrie was abducted, if that's even true. There has been a lot of neighbors around here saying they've been having electrical problem and problems with their cameras not registering things on the morning of February 1st, 2026. Now, authorities come out and say this is not related whatsoever, but this is absolutely weird. And I'm going to spin the camera around. And
I mean, how often do you see an internet box like that open? Thomas, I think I missed this earlier. I'm sorry. If Wi-Fi is jammed, can it still notify of disconnect? So, yes, if your internet goes out, you will generally get a disconnection notification on your device that it's not connected. You need to reconnect it, or it'll connect whenever the Wi-Fi starts up again.
and show it to you. It's just a box, and her house is right around the corner to the left. And I'll take you down there and just show you how close it is. But you got this like box here, literally somebody tampering with the stuff here. They say it's not related, but how are they able to tell? And the question is, why is this still open? There's another box over here. Closed. But this handles a lot of telecommunication or electrical. I don't even know what this is, but it's a box that has been reported as being busted open in her neighborhood.
I said last night, that looks like the underneath of my desk.
As being busted open in her neighborhood. Now, let's take you down to her home and just to show you the distance here. And there's all these boxes, whether it's for phone, whether it's for internet, whether it's for electrical work, and whatever else, cable. They're all over the neighborhood. You still can't park in the neighborhood. They got the no parking signs in the neighborhood. Let's go down and see here and just show you how close it is away. I'm sure this box might handle things around her home and other places. We'll just go down here and see. Still out here. It is day 38. Day 38. 38 days ago, Nancy Guthrie was abducted from her home, and the perp has still not been caught. But did somebody come in, whether this, I'm assuming this is not related because they're saying it's not related, but that's weird. But did somebody really use cell phone jammers? Yeah. There's utility people here because there's a lot of utility people around here. Did somebody use cell phone jammers to try to disable people's Ring cameras, Nest cameras, internet? That remains a mystery. A lot of the neighbors around here have stated things have went funny. Now, going down the street here, right down the road is our house. I just want to show you how close that box is. And I'm calling it an electrical box. Let me know what you think it is.
I think it's a cable. I don't think that's electrical. I think it's telecommunications. I'm pretty sure it's telecommunication.
One thing I noticed around here also in Nancy Guthrie's home and neighborhood is a lot of homes under construction. People have been listening to this case feel she never even left this neighborhood. And we're about at our house, around the last corner here. We'll get to our house here coming up. Do we got a burglary ring that specifically disables cameras and people's security systems so they can gain access to the house? Is that that's what's going on? Or are they just the neighbors around here not telling the truth when it comes to, something strange happening to their communications during those early morning hours? Right here. Here it is. Here's the house. Now, media is still out here. People are still out here. What the heck is going on here? So I'm going to continue to cover the case of Nancy Guthrie. When the heck happened? Boots on the ground, JLR investigates. Sub to the channel, like, hit the notification button. Where is Nancy Guthrie? I will continue to live stream out here, so check it out on JLR Investigates. We will talk soon. JLR Investigates. Stay tuned.
Claude, everything, absolutely everything was left at the house. Everything was left at the house except Nancy. And that's the really weird thing about it, right? Like if someone was going to go there and they were just getting valuables, like you could, they could tie Nancy up or just have her sit there. She's not going to be able to do anything. She's 84 years old. There was really no need to hurt her, right? If you were there for valuables or anything like that, there's no need to hurt the 84-year-old woman. Most, intruders, the people that break in, number one, they don't break in a house with someone there. Generally, they want you gone. That's why, like, when you're on vacation or whatever, you want to let, keep your lights on or have timers or have your neighbors watch out for that kind of thing. This is just not that. I used a pen light every day for 18 years and held them in my mouth at many of the scenes as a paramedic. That wasn't a pen light, in my opinion. Really? What do you think it was? I mean, I'm sure there's different brands of them, isn't there? Whoops, let me see here. Which one is it? We can go to that video. Bite Light. Maybe there's different names. They are thinking they can track because they are new, and I guess they are like earbuds. Interesting. Okay, let's go to this right here. I want to show you guys. Oh, I wanted to show y'all this. You guys remember when, real quick, you guys remember when Savannah was recording with her mom and her sister? I just thought this was interesting. Someone took a picture. Her mom is such a show. The remodeled kitchen my husband built. Her mom is such a sweet lady. Welcome home, Savannah. This was October 17, 2025. This is with obviously Nancy and Savannah and her mom. I did a short on this at the time. This was, just a few months before Nancy went missing. I don't think it's related to Savannah at all. Again, because people's like, well, maybe this is one of those random people that is obsessed with her. A lone wolf, that would be like what I call a lone wolf. And if there is a lone wolf, you don't have help. The fact that they didn't just break or rip the camera off quickly and did the whole plant thing to look amateur just goes to show you they purposely wanted to be seen at the door. It was all a ruse. I don't know. To me, like, if I was the perpetrator, I'm just trying to put myself in, like, if I was the perpetrator, if I didn't, cover it with tape or paint or a marker or something like that, I would have just ripped the damn thing off immediately. The quicker, the better. The plant thing just doesn't make sense to me. It just never does. Okay, here.
FBI Special Agent Jennifer Coffindaffer joined right now. And Brian, I mean, you've been working it. You've been doing excellent work, but you can't report on what isn't known.
Oh, I gotta show you.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, there's been a lot of dead ends, Chris. The glove that was found, we now found out that it's not linked to the case. The DNA actually traced back to a restaurant worker in the area who the sheriff says has absolutely nothing to do with the case. Today, though, I mean, there was action. We see the FBI out here. There's an arm since last time I talked to you, Chris, that consists of 4 detectives from the sheriff's office, a sergeant, and then all the FBI agents. So they've got a special task force now. All they do is Nancy Guthrie.
This isn't the one. Sorry, guys. 1 second. Have you guys seen what the alleged electrician looks like? Put a 1 in the chat if you've seen what the alleged electrician looks like. Anyone seen that? Very, very interesting. I'll show you. This is the one. Actually, we'll go to Chris first because I want to show you something. This. Okay. Check this out. Here we go. Right here. 1 yes, 2 no. If you've seen, he's got really big eyes. Really big eyes. Not seen. Okay, I'll show you the photo because it's public, but I'm not saying this guy is involved in any way, shape, or form at all. Okay? Just want to say that. Not saying that this at all. Here we go. Has anyone else wondered if Porch Guy could have been wearing contacts? Yes. Yep. You sent a pic to email. Okay, I'll check. I need to check my email because somebody else sent some. Okay, collared pics. Yeah, the thing with the AI though, it's so different every time. You know what I mean? Tiny lights, you pinch one light and works well in mouth. This is the alleged electrician. Do we know if the porch guy had dark or light eyes? Don't know. Don't know. I've seen him early. Yeah, I showed him early on. So Ellie went around in 2 mile radius asking people to check their cameras, and no one mentioned any interruptions. But now the jammer theory is put out, and there's all these outages. Yes, Thomas. And to me, that's weird. Very weird. Okay, so this is someone sent this to me. You can put it like on a key ring. You could use it as like a bite light, I'm sure. I think a lot looks similar in my opinion, but in my opinion, more similar than Old Daily. Yes, Wendy, I agree. I agree with that. Okay. All right. I want to show you something from the interview room real quick. I don't think the front door perp was Mexican either. I don't either. There's only a few groups that attack on the front porch. Well, I mean, this is the thing. Like, think about this. See, we don't have all the footage. We don't even know if law enforcement has all the footage. They were trying to recover some of the footage with this alleged perpetrator on it, right? Okay. If you were the perpetrator, would you be going through the front door? Because the way this guy walks, right? Let me see if I've got the video real quick. The way this guy walks on video, it's like he's coming from the area of almost like around from like the garage or whatever. Let me see if I can get this here. I thought I had it, but I guess I don't. Okay. Like that would be the first place that I would go. Here we go. That wouldn't be the first place I would go personally. Would be like the front door. It's just not. All right. We'll come right back to this. Right. This is not going to be. What shall we? Well, actually, here maybe it's the other video he's coming from. So we actually don't see which way he's coming from here, do we? Unless this is a shortened down video. Let me make sure. Oh, that's interesting. Let's try this. I don't know. Let's try this Nancy Guthrie suspect video. Let's see how the other one is. The other one, is he walking? Nope, here we go. Yep, this one's shortened. Look at this right here. So this is the night. See how he's coming around? You can see he's coming around. See him right there? See how he's coming around? But he comes from the front door. I hope so, Oranges. I hope so. Yeah, they did remove the cameras, but like, I don't know. Like, he doesn't seem very motivated here. He seems like he's got all the fucking time in the world, which is very weird. Since the camera picked up the porch guy, that may have been his signal to someone already inside. I've thought about that as well, but I mean, this is the thing. Like, if that is, like, why wouldn't you? Okay, so let's say there's someone already inside the house, right? That went through the back door. And people, I've heard people say, and I've thought about this myself, like, if he's waiting for someone to come, meaning another perpetrator to come through the front door, why wouldn't he just come through the back door? You know what I mean? Like, and how is there, I mean, he would have had to have already been around back and be like, I'll meet you up front. You know what I mean? Nancy obviously had to have been at here somewhere at some point because there's some blood. I think she was taken out of there not alive or seriously injured on her way out to get the camera only. I'm trying to think. Okay, so let's think about this for a minute. If you're going to take Nancy out, right? And I've discussed this before. If she's 84, you've got to either A, carry her out alive, or you're going to have to be very patient with her because you can't force an 84-year-old woman to walk faster. You can't push her, she'll fall. So if she is, or if she's deceased, let's say any of those, well, except for the walking, which way would you likely take Nancy out if you were the perpetrator? Are you going to take her out of the garage? To me, if I'm the perpetrator, I'm taking her out into the garage. That's the way I'm taking her out because it's still an enclosed space, right? Like most, okay, think about this. When people unalive someone, Chris Watts, nasty mofo, right? Many times these people will pull into the garage and like close the door because you can't see them removing and putting a body in a car, right? You don't generally just carry someone out deceased in the middle of the yard. You just never ever know, right? So to me, the question is here, how did that blood get on the front porch? If there's more risk of taking Nancy out the front way as well, because you're closer to the road, right? Neighbors could probably hear you better if you screamed as well. I don't think there was room for two cars. That's a good point as well. Good point. But I would have moved the car if I had to. But that's true. The car was already pulled in there. But remember, they took Nancy's car. They took Nancy's car. Okay. This perpetrator obviously had to have some sort of transportation. If, let's say, they didn't pull in the garage, if they didn't pull in the garage, they're not going to pull down the road and make Nancy walk down the street at, 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning when she's not that mobile if she's alive, which means they have to be in that driveway. No, they don't aspirate. They don't. I've seen a lot of dead people. I've worked at 2 funeral homes, but what they can do, what can happen, and we don't know 100% that that's aspiration. I do think it comes from the nose. However, I'm probably talk about this under a member only, but I'm trying to say this lightly. If there is trauma to, this is gruesome, so I'm trying to trigger. If there is trauma to said individual, okay, and they are in, there is blood, whether that's strangulation, whether that's mouth being busted, teeth, GUN wounds, on your way out, if you are deceased, while there still is a mix and it can still drop, especially if you're being carried, or if you are injured, it can still happen that way. I don't think it came from the mouth. In my opinion, this did not come from the mouth. To me, the blood looks too concentrated, in my opinion, for this to come from the mouth. If you think about it, if this is with some aspiration in it, think about it when you mix. Everybody's like bled in their mouth at one point or another, or seen some, like when you spit, there is it's lighter colored. This is not that. If there is mucus from your nose or whatever, there can be mucus, but it's not going to be as light as saliva. Okay. So if this came from, in my opinion, the nose, and either Chris or no screaming, there was no screaming reported or anything. However, this is interesting to me, Green Eyes. I just thought of this because we were talking about those cameras a second ago. Those 2 cameras were off, the only 2 pointing toward Nancy's home. These neighbors say that their dog, I guess, was barking and let them needed to go out at around this time as well. Right. Yes. Oh, it certainly does. Same with one of my boys. Same with one of my boys. They had to cauterize the vessels. Nosebleeds are the blood looks different than saliva. It coming out of your mouth, right? Saliva, it's a lighter, because it's mixed with saliva. You may when it's a nose, it's going to be a lot more concentrated. There's no way she heard anything, not when you're hard hearing, because one of my family members I could actually be planning on walking in the door. I don't think she heard anything either. I think she was asleep, and I think she was ambushed. She was ambushed, in my opinion. Okay. So that's pretty interesting right there. Let me go to this. Guys, if you're just joining us, please hit that thumbs up button. Appreciate all of y'all being here. You guys are amazing, amazing. Okay. All right. I want to make a point right here. This is our friend Chris McDonough from the interview room. He's got John Lamb, Bob Gillum, and of course our friend Dr. Gary Ricardo.
No, it's a fine line. There's no question it is a fine line, and that's why, journalists go to journalism school and they learn about those lines. Whatever that means. YouTube's not going away.
Hold on one second.
This is about Nancy Guthrie.
Get the timestamp.
Which is standard Wi-Fi, right? And frequency bands. Right?
Jammer. I'm not that familiar with these Wi-Fi jammers, so it could very well be that. But I just thought the timing of the sheriff's and FBI's visit to the neighborhood to ask that question is very interesting.
Yeah, and I know Jason's in the chat here. He's an IT guy, much more an expert at this, but just the lay person.
And something that makes a lot of sense. AB said same type of blood drops inside the door from a source. That makes sense. You would expect to see that. You would expect to see that. I'm going to show you guys something here in a second, though, where I think it might have been Jennifer Coffindaffer. Don't hold me to it. I can't remember, but they are talking about, someone was talking about, I'll pull it up in a minute, how sometimes if you are transporting someone, moving someone, and you're trying to contain them, meaning they're not alive, things can leak as well.
Reader's Digest version here is, Wi-Fi networks operate primarily on two frequency bands.
What do you mean, Tucson?
2.4 gigahertz and then 5 gigahertz, which is standard Wi-Fi, right?
2.4 is going to be
with more channels but shorter range. The other one, 2.4, 1 to 14, widely used and more prone to interference. So a jammer works by transmitting a powerful noise signal, typically on a pulse, on the same frequency as the targeted Wi-Fi band. So that means if that guy had a jammer on the porch, he's targeting the Wi-Fi of Nancy's home, not the neighbors, because the ability for these things to go out, the furthest that I found was about 100 yards. And I'm not talking about military grade. I'm just talking about commercial grade, over the counter,
And you got to remember, from what I understand, there, and from what I've researched from other cases, there is different types of jammers, different, because I don't know the technical term, we'll say it's strengths. I know some can do like a home or two, and some can do an entire block. Now, Chris, from what he's talking about, and I guess his experience, he says, like 100 feet or something. And you got to remember, like the more jamming it can do, the higher cost this jammer is going to be. And to do something like a whole block with a jammer is going to be mega expensive to buy something like that. Mega expensive. I would like to know, Justin, is there a room in her garage for 2 cars? Her car you wouldn't touch because of DNA, but is there room for another car? I think it's just a 1-car garage. You might be able to fit 2 in there. I've got pictures I can pull up, but I think it's technically just a 1-car garage. Am I right about that?
Amazon, Whamma Jamma. Okay, you can buy these things out there. You can watch Sean Ryan, and you can see the kid that comes up there, the expert that talks about, how to, get passwords and all this other stuff. All that stuff
Where's that
exists
right now?
There's no question about it. However, okay, the portable handheld types are battery-operated devices.
That's the most common.
And they're typically only used in short-term use, and many target 2.4 gigahertz. Or the dual band, excluding mini blockers, with a less than 60 yards ability to jam anything. So I'm going to look at this almost like the Bitcoin stuff. Right? The Bitcoin first letters, the ransom letters that came in to the 2 news stations and to TMZ, I've always felt was just noise. Okay, just noise.
Mm-hmm.
And that everybody ran that direction, but I was still of the opinion that the Pima County Sheriff's Office was still at the house and still working that house. Now, here we are 36 days into this, and I think our theory is being borne out that we were right. Okay? They haven't left the house and they haven't left the neighborhood. And in fact, the FBI and the sheriffs the other day were back there.
Haven't left the house and haven't left the neighborhood. I find it interesting about those 2 cameras that are just now being reported. Again, if they're hardwired, how are they out? If they are, out of all the cameras at their house, why are those 2 cameras pointing toward Nancy's the only 2 that's out? Why that night? Why this time frame Nancy went missing? More reporting is coming out. We're looking really close to the house.
Knocking on doors, and they're asking, not only about when did your internet go out around the neighborhood, but more importantly, they're asking, do you have any video? Okay. And so, the multifunction jammers, they combine Wi-Fi blocking with cell phone, but you cannot block in totality a cell phone signal. It's still going to be sent and ping from the tower. And there are multiple systems that the feds have. One of them is called Gladiator. Now, anybody can go look at the website, but you can't get in. It's just a face sheet. It's called Gladiator. Okay? It is a program designed by an FBI agent, a former FBI agent. He's actually a friend of mine, and his name is Cameron. And when I used to work right after I retired for TransUnion.
Holly, when I was really on Sebastian's case, I did a lot of research about like the jammers. That's when I first started speaking about like the jammers and stuff like that. And they just said hardwired. It's just not going to happen with the hardwired. But
that was kind of my lane in the cell phone game.
Makes me sus.
I was ran in that for a couple of years before I got picked up by the Cold Case Foundation. And so they know what time it is in this footprint around that house. And so I don't think that the effectiveness of these things that people are talking about, their output power, first of all, has to be really great.
Thank you.
To go further than just that.
It takes a lot of energy and power to disconnect a whole freaking block. It's not as something that is the size of your phone that's going to block an entire neighborhood.
That front porch. That would mean you would need a device. And I love that that social media is showing the guy walking around with the gigantic box on film going up, and doing this. Okay. That device in of itself took one person just to hold that box up to jam, a Ring camera.
That's what I'm saying. It would take, it's to do an entire, I don't even know if you can buy a commercial one to do an entire block. And if you could, it's going to be very expensive. It's not like just a little Amazon jammer.
Okay. And he's not jamming the Ring cameras of everybody in the neighborhood. He's jamming that one Ring camera. Okay. And people are going, wow, that's really, maybe that's what's happening here. Well, the next really important piece to understand is the antenna design. A Wi-Fi jammer needs a specific type of antenna to, first of all, pick up the signal and then send a secondary signal to jam it. Okay. So if you've got this device in your pocket and just the antenna sticking out, well, what's the other antenna that is sending the return signal to jam it?
That too. But Simply Real says, could be that the neighbor's internet company does their update late at night. That would cause a temporary outage. Many people are asleep when the updates are done, but not always. That's a good point, Simply Real. But I will counter you on that with, why is it just the two cameras pointing directly toward Nancy's? You get what I mean? Why is it just the two cameras pointing toward Nancy's? They say it's not happened before, ever, and it's not happened since. So I don't think it can be the internet, in my opinion. Remember, they have more than two cameras. It is only the two cameras pointing toward Nancy's.
Okay, we're not seeing that. Okay, but if you'll look at a Wi-Fi jammer, it has multiple antennas on it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Gary, you're muted.
That's sorry, that won't
okay.
But just to clarify something, what would be the purpose of jamming other people's signal? I mean, if my Wi-Fi went out, I'm such a night owl. In the middle of the night, mine went out, I'd go outside to inspect. I mean, you're going to get people.
And that's what I said. Yes. People was like, okay, because there's this talk in reporting that there may have been a blackout in this neighborhood. There's at least 5-6 houses very close to Nancy's home. Okay. Again, if that would be the case, I would think out of 5-6 houses, at least one person is going to be up at 2:00 in the morning, right? You would think one person at least. And again, if that is true, why is it just the 2 cameras, these neighbors are saying? Very much so, Snoop. Very much.
Possibly to go out of their house.
Right.
I mean, what's the logic of why you would do it? I mean, does anyone have any idea? Or is it just a side effect of using it in that home?
John?
The only thing I can think of is if, well, there are 2 parallel lanes here. Was it done to shut down the Wi-Fi because there was a belief that there was an alarm system?
Right, or another camera that they might have.
Yeah, another camera but then I also think,
I think Nancy was
how
asleep.
does the person with the jammer now, and Chris, you can answer this, can you purchase a device that will block both frequencies?
No, it won't block it will not block cell phone frequency.
So how do you know which device to buy?
2.4 hertz.
That's a great question.
Because unless, and again, we're purely speculating here, because I'm not convinced that it was a jammer, but how do you know which device with which frequency to buy unless you've been there and you know what the Wi-Fi is?
Yes.
That's a really good point. It's actually
Hold on, what are you saying?
How do you know which device with which frequency to buy unless you've been there and you know what the Wi-Fi is?
That's a really good point. It's actually it keeps us at the house, to your point.
Exactly. So and that's if it is a jammer. I'm not convinced it is. I think from my looking at it, it might be a walkie-talkie. I think that's far more likely. I think at this point, the jammer idea, we're running
the jammer's BS.
Counter to Occam's razor again. We're adding layers to this because we haven't been able to solve it, and so now we're creating fresh problems, and perhaps misidentifying other technology.
Thomas says, don't you think this was a high risk crime? Walking around with a mask on, backpack or jacket with reflective materials with risk of being seen or cars driving by. Nancy is incredibly low risk. However, to me, okay, let's think about this. It is very high risk to walk around any time of the night or morning, if you will, with a ski mask on in Tucson, Arizona, right? Unless you really know the neighborhood. If you know that there's probably not anybody walking in that neighborhood at that time because they're all older, they're not going to be out walking like that. And there's not really a lot of cars traveling. That would say, in my opinion, that this is someone that knows this neighborhood deeply well or inside the neighborhood. Right? So, again, I don't think this perpetrator would be walking down a main street like this in Tucson doing a crime. right? I have watched those boys drive around all night and not see a soul. Though the house that had the vertical flyby was clocked at 0.9 miles, it's 2.5. After watching the YouTubers there, it's so dark and nobody out. The person knew the area. Yeah. 1,000%. 1,000%. 1,000%.
Because we're literally grasping at straws.
Yeah, and the real world examples are, many portable models will jam up to 10 to 33 feet. Mid-range portable models will jam up to 66 feet.
Directly at it too.
And then high-powered units will jam up to 100 to 125 square yards, approximately. So now when you start getting into the military grade stuff and law enforcement stuff, which law enforcement has, okay, and they're connected to real-time crime centers.
This person don't have
RTCCs and fusion centers, okay? And you need a federal warrant to use them for terrorism primarily, okay? Military stuff is just off the hook, off the walls, okay? That's DARPA stuff, okay? And they can put them out in the mountains, and if you pick up your phone, they're going to pinpoint you in about 2 milliseconds. And you will probably evaporate with a JDAM within a couple of minutes.
Yes.
Just saying. Okay. Go ahead. Did you want to say something?
just to circle back around to what we think that device was in the pocket. We're pretty certain the crooks here didn't carry their cell phones to do this job, and it would make a lot more sense for them to have some way of communicating, and that way of communicating would be those $50 walkie-talkie sets from Walmart that you can buy. And when I first saw that thing sticking out of the pocket, that's what resonated with me, that it was because a lot of those are real thick antennas. They're real,
There's the expert right here. Jason's an expert. I know that.
Yeah. And I don't, thank you, Jason. Yeah, I don't think that's a police scanner. You have to, first
I don't
of
think
all,
it's a police scanner either.
A lot of police departments now, a lot of sheriff's office and city police. I know my former department in Denver, it's all encrypted. So you can't listen to any of it on a scanner. And I don't know if Tucson, if Pima County or Tucson PD, if they're encrypted or not, but that's the first obstacle. The second would be there's no ear plug in this guy's ear that we can see. And I don't believe that you can Bluetooth that signal into
not a chance,
like an AirPod or anything like that. Now, maybe you could, but I doubt it with that Walmart style walkie-talkie. And so listening, trying to figure out which radio call it is to the Guthrie house would be pretty difficult for the novice listener, quite honestly. And so I doubt that. So I just think it's a walkie-talkie so they can communicate and rendezvous or whatever.
I'm getting ads for Google Nest cameras now, by the way.
Whatever it is that they were doing. And I say they because I'm convinced I'm in the same camp Gary is. There's more than one. I've said previously, my opinion, it's 2 to 5 people involved in this entire conspiracy, and that's what I think.
You don't think so?
I just saw a comment that flashed by, Chris. We had a former dispatcher from Pima County who states that their frequency is not encrypted, and they use the repeater system. And then they get bleed over from the repeaters. So But Bob makes a very good point. Let's just say, for example, you could actually scan that frequency and somehow he could hear. That doesn't mean he's going to be able to make sense. That's going to require the people using it to be up on police codes and to know what's being broadcast. And
good point.
And it just seems to me that
good point. Police use codes, right? They usually don't say, we have a break-in of, at whatever. They say, I've got a code 80 or whatever. They use codes. And if it's a scanner, you're going, the people is going to have to know the codes. So I don't think I don't feel like this is a scanner either.
It makes far more sense that it's just a walkie-talkie.
Yeah, and I think Jason makes a really solid.
But again, if it is a walkie-talkie, that means there's more than one person there. Or they're communicating with someone within a few miles away. Usually they'll go a couple miles. If it even is a walkie-talkie.
Point. I mean, here's a guy who's an expert, he's an IT guy. And he does this every single day. And when we're talking about a repeater system for, police radios, for an example, the 800 megahertz, which you're talking about, right, Bob?
Yes.
Those are all scrambled. You can't get into that. That's where all the, the SWAT channels are. That's when, they're on an incident. Everybody's talking. We used to call it car to car. And it's in a whole different field of frequency. But with what repeaters are is basically towers throughout the entire county. And when an officer clicks the microphone, that sends the signal to one tower, that sends it to the next tower, that sends it to the next tower, that sends it down to the tower on top of the dispatch center. Okay. Well, I mean, how many of us back in the day had these dead zones? You knew, if you click that mic, dispatch wasn't hearing you because it would hit the tower, and then all of a sudden you're in a valley and your signal couldn't get up.
All right, guys, 1 second. We're going to Entin real quick. Mods, please drop Brian Entin's something here. Let me drop his link in the description.
A couple of things I want to ask you about, Maureen, with the neighbor who I interviewed. She had a couple of really interesting points. First, she told the story about her sister who lives down the street, also in the neighborhood, and that the FBI, who she thought was the FBI, showed up at her house, and then she was concerned that they weren't really the FBI. Come to find out later, she found out that they were the FBI. Let me play you this part, and then I want to see what you think about it.
They did go to my sister's house.
Did they?
Yeah.
And she said she lives right near here, too.
She lives right up the street. They went to my sister's house on the second Friday night after Nancy went missing at like 7:30 at night. It was raining with hoodies on, black hoodies. And we're tapping on her windows and frantically ringing her doorbell, and she answered it. I don't remember if they asked to come in or if she just offered for them to come in. It was raining and it was cold. And so they went in. I think the male did not take his hoodie off. The female did. They wanted to know if she had a pacemaker, and they wanted to look into her garage. And so she was like, okay. I mean, she was alone and was like, sure, of course, you're the FBI. Apparently on her hoodie was just a little FBI emblem up here.
Again, that was my question last night, DA. Like, I don't know why they would be asking the FBI if you had a pacemaker. Some people was like, well, maybe they, when they were searching for Nancy's pacemaker when they were looking for it that way, they might have picked up something weird or something like that. But I don't know, like, law enforcement, are they just going to go start asking about your health? Like, hey, do you have a pacemaker? Do you have a catheter? Like, who does that?
Sure.
Especially when it's raining at 7:00 at night with hoodies on, and they're acting weird.
Well, then they left, and
So they were in her house.
They were in her house for like 20 minutes and talking to her, and she was asking questions, and they were kind of vague, and the guy didn't really speak, and he kind of creeped her out. So they left, and my niece called and said, "Are you sure they were the FBI?" Because we all had discussed about copycat crimes, people posing as police officers, things like that. So she called the 1-800-FBI number, and it was busy.
Well, see, I don't know if it's HIPAA. I don't think it would be considered HIPAA necessarily, because they're not medical. Yeah, it just said one little patch on the shirt. And Grace worked for a judge. They generally have a badge that they present. Yes.
Said they were busy. So she called 911, and within
Very
15
weird.
minutes, 10 minutes, there were 7 police cars, 4 FBI agents, said it wasn't the FBI. She was terrified. They swabbed her, fingerprinted the entire house.
They swabbed her mouth.
They swabbed her mouth.
For DNA, wow.
Yeah. And then were there till the middle of the night, and then just left, and she was terrified. So the next day at about 3:00 in the afternoon, she got a call from the large group of FBI agents that were there and said, "Oh yeah, by the way, that woman was an FBI agent. We don't really know who the guy was, but she was, so you're fine." And she was like, "No, I'm not fine. I'd like to know exactly what's her name. Tell me more about it. They were in my home." And it's
So why would they have swabbed her and did fingerprints?
I don't know. I mean, that's the thing, Simply Real. Justin, are you buying the story? Who would let strangers in their home after what happened to Nancy Guthrie. I was just looking at Nancy Grace on something. I don't know. No swabbing. This isn't right, lady. I mean, I think this woman is a good person, and but I don't know her sister. And I would like for the FBI or law enforcement to be like, yeah, we went there.
The whole house.
Because I think in the beginning, the two entities weren't talking to each other properly. I think the FBI and the sheriff's department were not communicating.
So what do you make of this, Maureen? Because apparently the sheriff and some of the FBI were concerned enough that they did a 4-hour investigation, fingerprinted her whole house, took her DNA, were concerned that these were fake cops, but then called her the next day and said, "Oh no, we looked into it and it's actually legit."
Well, it was interesting to say the least, but initially when we go to the door, we always show our credentials, and it's not like your typical badge. It's not like your typical police identification card. You're not wearing uniforms. As you said in the clip, or she said, they had just a small insignia that said FBI on her hat or whatever. And that's just the merch that we have to buy most of that out of our own pockets to wear that. So my thought is this: they were assigned an area on a map or wherever, like, hey, this block, we're going to do this block. And maybe this particular house was scheduled for the following day or something. I don't know. And they just were trying to get everything. I don't know what happened. All I do know is when we go to the door, we're trained to show our identification. And the identification is a dual placard that opens up and it says FBI on top, and on the bottom, your photo and your name.
That is like FBI 101. That's the first thing FBI does whenever they say hi to you. And like, shit, maybe they were wore out. Maybe they're, I don't know, but it's just not professional. Grace worked for a judge for my mod here for 38 years, and she said she's never heard of it.
But it is something that most people have never ever seen before. So maybe she just didn't notice it, or was listening, or it was cold out, whatever, and then she invited them in. With their jackets on and with it being cold, you're not going to really see their badge. And we have notoriously small badges, which other law enforcement entities always make fun of us for. And we always admit that we do, in fact, have badge envy, especially when you're here in LA. Looking at LAPD badges, the coolest badges around. But so they went in and did what they were supposed to do. Now, you know, you have to write a report when you do stuff like that. Obviously, these guys were there for several hours, and we in the bureau, you've got 5 days to write your report. In a situation like this, they're going to say, "Hey, write your reports."
I hope she recorded some of it, because I would have been recording the chickens.
As soon as they're done, we need to get this, we need to keep everything up to speed so that we're tracking everything that's going on, because all these leads are being tracked. That it just didn't make it to the analyst and the professional support personnel that were annotating all the leads that were out and the leads that were being covered. So to fingerprint her whole house and all that, and I didn't really understand the bit about the I mean, maybe you can clarify the bit about the
you don't want
pacemaker?
to be impersonating.
That's
I don't understand what it was about.
Yeah, I don't either. I was wondering what you thought about that. They were asking if she had a pacemaker.
I don't know what, unless they had some kind of an RF analyzer that can tell you how strong that signal was, because they just wanted an answer quickly. But that's odd to me. I've never, I don't know what that means.
Never.
We'll have to wait and see what that means.
Yeah, and I'm trying to talk to her a little more today.
Well, I hope, Brian, if you watch this, can you get an interview with her? That would be really good, to get an interview with her sister. I would love to hear it from her, like her experience with the whole thing. Don't you think that would be good? I think that would be good if they went and got an interview with her. I would want to see that. I would really like to see that.
Get some more info. But just the fact that they came, so she calls 911 so basically she calls her sister. Something weird. There was just something weird about I don't know.
All right, can y'all see me? I think there was someone trying to block my internet, maybe. Maybe there was a jammer.
And it was her sister who said, you should just call the police if you think there's something weird. So she calls 911, and then they respond, and she said with 7 deputies plus more FBI, and she said 4 hours in the house fingerprinting, and they said, we don't know who these people were who were in your house.
Oh, so it wasn't the...
I mean, think about this, guys. Okay. All right. Guys, the more I think about this, all right, why are they going to be in her house for 4 hours when they are just surveilling the area? You know what I mean? Like, Why? I don't even have words. There is no way that they go in and tell her this was not the FBI and then tell her it was. Not going to happen. I agree. Maybe they weren't, but they said, no, it's not. And then they said, yes, it is. Yeah. Wi-Fi was funky with me today. I don't even have, well, I mean, I have Wi-Fi, but I have it directly plugged in, so I don't know what's going on. Just goes to show you how poorly they collaborated, sheriffs and FBI. So, Jazz, they did say at the time this happened that Pima County was not communicating very well with the FBI.
FBI agents that were
No.
lifting prints.
No,
I gotcha.
this
All right,
was
no,
in-
that makes more sense.
This was in response to her saying,
That makes
I
more
think
sense.
these were fake cops. And then the FBI and the deputies responding and being like, yeah, we have no record of these people. They were fake cops, and we're gonna do this.
Okay. So these FBI, the guy and the gal, were there like 20 minutes. And then they leave. The guy doesn't talk very much. Then she calls and she says, I got a strange feeling about these FBI guys that were at my house. Can you confirm this? And they're like, sorry, we have no record to show that any of our people was there, should have been there. And then they're at her house for the real FBI comes at her house for several hours. And they said, we have no record that they were there. And then they come back and say, oh yeah, it was our people. I do too, Jackie.
Whole thing. They were there for 4 hours, fingerprinting everything, took her DNA,
Dirty.
left that night, and she went to bed thinking, oh my God, there were fake cops in my house.
All right,
Freaks
so
out.
they took her DNA because they were gonna
real FBI.
They were looking for the DNA of the two people they thought were possible offenders. This happened, it's not uncommon.
I think she called that night, and then the next day they tell her, yeah, that was our people. That night they say, no, we don't have any record of that. And the next day, the real FBI, after they come there and do their investigation, even though they said in the beginning that it wasn't them, the next day they call and be like, oh yeah, it was our people.
Well, let me finish because I want to make sure you
Okay.
know. So then leave at night, and she goes to bed freaked out. I let fake cops in my house. And this is right after Nancy Guthrie disappeared. This is all, they're in connection to the Nancy Guthrie case. 3 p.m. next day, they call her and say, oh, just so you know, we did more checking, and they actually were legit. The woman was definitely real FBI, so we can all move on. Okay, so sorry,
Right,
what were you
so
going
she
to say?
submitted, the FBI female agent submitted her report. It flagged in the system that it was in fact an FBI agent, and probably could have been an ERT person with her or someone else that's not a sworn law enforcement
It's
officer.
so
I don't know
weird.
why he didn't take his hoodie off when he got in the house, because in a situation like this, we have to understand that people are freaked out a little bit, and you have to do what you can to sort of calm the situation down. So that will be dealt with. I can guarantee you that. But that makes a lot more sense. So they did.
Like, this is the thing. FBI are truly the most professional people you will ever meet in law enforcement. They are not like city cops or anything like that, you know how like city cops will, some of them, I'm not, I really support law enforcement, but some of them will get like, they'll mouth at you or whatever. FBI they're not going to do that. They are the most professional out there. And for her just to get like a weird vibe and this guy not take off his hoodie and stuff. I don't know. It seems, again, maybe they were up for 28 hours or something and they were just done with the day and that was their last stop or whatever. But you just don't normally
Did a buckle swab on her because they were going to compare and contrast her DNA with other DNA that they're pulling out of the house when they were trying to figure out who these fake offenders were, even though they were legitimate. Now, if you consider it, as I said, it's not uncommon for people to come upon anybody, and I mean, it's happened a number of times where fake law enforcement or fake even firefighters show up on scene. Like if you look at, if you recall back to the Palisades fire, there was that fake fireman going around who was trying to get into houses and, to rob them. So, and he came to one of my friend's house and I briefed them extensively on what to look for, what to be aware of, and they said they could tell that he wasn't a real firefighter because of a number of things that I had told them. So that's scary, but it was a good idea.
But this is the thing to me, like, why did the real FBI want her DNA? For what? You know what I mean? Like, why did the real FBI, why did they want this random neighbor outside, a little outside Nancy Guthrie's home? Why did they want a random person's DNA? And the pacemaker question, it's just weird as shit, man.
Idea, and it was a very good move to call the police and say, this is what happened. I'm frightened. What should I do? If they spoke to someone in the command post, obviously even that night, it would have been the same result because the female FBI probably didn't even have time to write her report, let alone submit it by that night, So it happened the next day. Not great, but in a very fluid situation like this, where when I tell you things are flying around. Information, personnel, new directives, pausing old directives. I mean, it's whenever you look at any after action report for any significant event,
but why?
You always see comms or communications, but we call them.
Why? If I call the FBI and I am just confirming, could you just confirm that you guys were at my house? And they say, no, we're going to come there to investigate. Why are you taking my DNA? Why would you want my DNA? She's just a neighbor. Exactly. Love your picture, by the way. Right. What's that got to do with me? Exactly. If I was in the neighborhood, I would want news crews around as they are watching the neighborhood and recording everything. I would feel a bit safer, in my opinion. I would have demanded ID and asked why the DNA. I mean, if I were her, I would be doing a federal FOIA. I would be doing a federal FOIA and seeing why did they ask for my DNA. They weren't communicating. You're right. They weren't communicating. And in my opinion, that's because of Sheriff Doofy. But still, your communication has nothing to do with me. Justin, I don't think the FBI swabbed her. The cops did when they came to investigate who actually came, maybe to separate it from other DNA that was found in the home. But again, Charmin, like you can't just, I mean, yeah, she invited them in her house, which if you are invited without a warrant, yeah, you can come in. You can give DNA without a warrant. I get it. But you need some probable cause for that DNA in the first place. I mean, if you're just going to start knocking on neighbors' doors and saying, "Hi, I would like your DNA. Would you submit it to every neighbor?" And they can do that if you want to give it to them. That's fine and dandy, but it's just weird. At 7 o'clock at night, pouring down the rain, I'm here for a swab. Okay, fine. Could you tell me why you're here for a swab? Oh, that's exactly right. She didn't. You don't have to give your DNA to anybody if there's not a warrant. Now, you can throw your trash out and they can get it that way. Right? They can get it that way. In my opinion, I've said this a long time ago, I believe the reason they went to Daly's house was likely for a DNA warrant, potentially. But it's just not right. It's just not right. I mean, I don't think I think it was an error on all of the parts, all of them. But that's not the house with the weird son. Very intrusive. Very intrusive. Intrusive for no reason. You know what I mean? There's just no reasoning for it.
Comms. You always see comms as one of the number one findings of where we have issues. And this is just another example.
Well, what a waste of time. I mean, again, this was still when things were very active. To have all those people go to her house, have to spend 4 hours, which is what she said, fingerprinting.
Exactly, Brian. That's the thing. This was in the beginning. And again, they were not communicating very good at the time. And you're wasting hours of precious FBI resources in the beginning, and you're asking for like almost like a desperate housewife kind of person's DNA. She's a man, baby. On the next year.
Doing all that investigating, there was no way for them to just figure out that it was real FBI sooner?
The only thing I can think of is that those two individuals, the FBI personnel, were assigned a block or an area, and they decided to deviate from that slightly, maybe right around the corner. Maybe they were assigned to the very
How embarrassing.
next block and thought, we may as well just hit this house. We're right here and just see what they know. And, I know.
Do you think it
But,
goes
you know,
back to the miscommunication, or not the miscommunication, but the lack of communication between? Remember in the beginning there was some real beef between the FBI and the sheriff's office, and the
it
sheriff.
goes more. I would say it goes more toward any big investigation. I mean, it sounds like, oh, this is outrageous and everything, but if you took 100 regular citizens and gave them all very clear directions, you would be blown away with how everyone goes in opposite directions and they're stepping over each other. So, you know, if this is the only thing that went wrong at the beginning of something this large, I have no problem with it. Is it a waste of time? Yeah, maybe, probably. Could they have been doing other things? Yes. But we have to, we have to go through the machinations of whatever needs to be done, and we need to do it quickly. And
FBI,
it's not the greatest outcome. But I'm not surprised, because whenever you're involved in anything big like this, all kinds of stuff always happens. We've had massive plane crashes where someone in the press came out and said, I saw
they should have
10 passports of people that were.
I mean, one thing that I will just never forgive the sheriff for, Annette says, Chris in his panel said that the sheriff should have taken the doormat at the door the first day, or even now in case there is any DNA. You would think they would have taken that doormat. Absolutely. Number one. But the thing I was saying that I will just never forgive the sheriff for, whenever the reporter asked him and said, you cleared the house really quickly and then you guys uncleared the house and went back in. Aren't you afraid of that hurting the investigators or the investigation for when if it goes to court? And he's like, well, we'll leave that up to the prosecutors. That is the most irresponsible thing I think I've ever heard a sheriff say out of his damn mouth. That's the most irresponsible thing, because as a police officer, let alone the sheriff, you should be doing everything you possibly can to make sure those prosecutors don't have to work harder and have this sealed. I have never heard a sheriff say that ever. That is just absolutely irresponsible. I can't even begin. Justin, that lady said they went to her sister's garage also. Yeah, they were interested in her garage or something.
That were killed in this plane crash, and their families don't even know about it yet, because the FBI's come out and said no families have been notified yet. And so I was the one handling all the identification for these people. And I'll tell you what, man, about 4 or 5 big bosses were jumping down my throat. And I said, no one saw those passports. And they were like, yeah, but everyone's saying it and it's being reported all over. No one saw them. Let me show you what I did with them, what my system was, what my protocol is. So you always in these situations have a whole bunch of, like I said, you got stuff flying, good stuff, bad stuff, confusing stuff. You're lucky if you can keep it down, and if you can contain it, that's even better. Just get her done. Keep moving forward.
Yeah, I wonder, for those couple of hours where they thought that these were maybe fake cops.
Yeah. Yeah, you would think. And, AMG says, they also said in the interview room that they would even take the front door off to check for evidence. You remember when they put up the tent around the door and stuff? I mean, they might have been checking. I mean, they were obviously doing something there, but why not take the door off and take it to the lab as well? But again, like Sheriff Doofy, he went and said, or he went and sent things to the Florida crime lab. He could have sent it to Quantico and been done with it. It's crazy. Remember Sheriff Doofy?
Hello? Hello? I said don't disturb me, I'm cleaning my room!
I said, don't disturb me while I'm cleaning my room.
Exactly.
They must have really thought that was crazy. I mean, because that could have connected back to the whole Nancy Guthrie. I mean, that must have been a...
That's an actual video of the sheriff cleaning his room.
An interesting couple of hours there.
Yeah, that was a big pucker factor moment for the investigation, for sure. That's why they sent 7, and that's exactly, you got to hit a situation like that hard. So it's unfortunate that the comms were bad. The whatever was set up wasn't set up solid enough. Maybe this.
Mr. Bright now says, I'm certain it's because they know she didn't go out the front door. They know what happened and how she was taken out, but are not showing or telling. Well, my question is, Mr. Bright now, is how did her blood get outside of the house right there on the doorway? It was also allegedly in the driveway, and reports are it's in the inside of the door as well. Wonder if Nancy was a friendly chatterbox and gave too much information to a worker or even an Uber driver. I don't think she did. Maybe another Uber driver, but this Uber driver that she rode with that night, I'm pretty sure that they cleared them and may have initially stated that info with perps. You're funny, Nancy. The family looking like unjaded me. This is the thing about this case, like, you look at the electrician and it's a little sus. You look at some people in the family, and to me it's really sus. You look at some things that the dailies say and why FBI was there, and it's really sus. You look at these neighbors' cameras that are off at this certain time, only the 2 cameras only pointed in the direction of Nancy's house, and their dog gets up and they take the dog out or something, and that's really sus. There's so many sus things about this, and it's very weird.
This is one of the first times these people have ever been on a great big fluid situation with other entities involved. And if that's the case, they learned a very valuable lesson. I think everyone's going to learn from this one. This will be part of the after action that they'll probably teach you to Quantico for a little bit.
That's a new Maureen phrase I haven't heard before yet. The pucker factor.
Oh, the pucker factor is real.
You haven't used that yet.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned you were
Steve about the pucker factor. He'll tell you stories too.
Okay. You mentioned you were telling your friends during the fires like how to be careful of fake firefighters. Like, what would you say to people who are watching this in terms of like fake cops and stuff? Like, what should people look out for?
Well, I'm not gonna go into everything because the bad guys are gonna learn from it. So what I would say is someone should either be obviously identifiable and or show their identification. So FBI agents don't have uniforms per se. We do wear our raid jackets, and we do have our credentials. So an FBI agent will be happy to show them to you if, if your interaction would deem so. So for example, you can't just walk up to someone and say, "Oh, show me your ID. Are you an FBI?" No, we don't have to do that. I mean, I wouldn't. But if I'm at your door and you ask, and I'm asking for information, and you
Now, if the FBI is dealing with you and they're asking questions directly to you, then they need to identify. But you can't just walk up to a person and say, "Hey, are you FBI?" And they got to tell you. No, that's not how it works. But if they're coming to you and asking you questions like that, then they need to identify.
want to see my credentials, absolutely. Can you take them out of their hand and Xerox them? No, you can't. And I had someone try to do that for me once.
Really?
I mean, yeah, I just held them up and this lunatic just tried to grab them out of my hands. And I'll tell you, it was about on. I mean,
not bad.
What was it? What was the situation?
It was just one of those people, kind of like a, one of those people that you see on those police car stops where they're like, "I'm
Oranges.
traveling. I'm a, what do they call sovereign citizen?" Just some. So they asked for my identification. I flipped open my my credentials to show them, and this is when I was a young agent, and someone she had her hands on them, was trying to rip them out of my hands and said she was going to Xerox them. She didn't Xerox them. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, I guess the other thing you could always do, I've always heard, is like you can call the police before you let someone in your house, right? Like if you're nervous.
No, this is
like
if you're talking about the woman on the screen, Caitlin, this is damn, I just was getting ready to say her name and it keep wanting to say her name's Melanie or something, but it's not Melanie, it's help me guys, what's her name? She's retired, or she's FBI retired. Maureen, thank you, Maureen.
Show up at your house and say, you could call 911 and say, "Hey, there's some cops outside my house. Are they real?"
Okay, yeah, you can clog up 911, but if it's a police officer in uniform and a squad car's in front of your house, don't waste 911's time.
Right.
Answer the questions.
I guess I meant if it wasn't a squad, kind of like this situation. She said it was hard to see the emblem and that kind of a thing.
Okay, then I will tell you that I would be absolutely gobsmacked if they did not show her the credentials, at least one of them.
I would be too. Because that's generally the first thing that FBI does. But this is the thing as well. Just remember this. I know, and again, I am totally supportive of all law enforcement, but as someone in the United States, we have our constitutional rights as well. And you have your right not to answer as well. Now, I don't know why you wouldn't answer certain questions, in my opinion, especially if there's nothing to hide. However, you do have your right not to speak. And if you don't feel comfortable for whatever reason, you could say, come back tomorrow. Maybe bring someone else with you or whatever as well. Yes.
It's our protocol. That's what we do. It's not something that people see often, so it's something she might easily forget, especially if, as her sister said, she's very nervous to begin with. She was frightened out of her mind. Who wouldn't be on a night like that?
Right. I mean, I think there was a lot of different elements in play that night, right? I mean, this was literally when 84-year-old Nancy just vanished. She may have even knew Nancy herself. I mean, obviously, her sister lives closer to Nancy, just a couple houses down, knew Nancy, and it's storming and it's late at, pretty late, 7 p.m. She was, probably been up, not sleeping and all that stuff. So ICE don't need to knock. Well, yeah. The reason that this is the thing. Law enforcement doesn't need to knock if they have a warrant, and ICE generally has a warrant before they're going to knock down a door in probable cause. She went to school with Nancy's kids, and she is Canadian. Yes.
So, and she, some people would expect to see a police uniform and maybe her raid jacket, which she didn't have on if it was cold. Did you say it was raining too?
It was raining,
I
think,
raining.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So she had to have rain gear on. So rain gear we don't have, raid jacket style rain gear where it's got the big gold FBI letters on it. I've never seen it if we have it. So that's probably what happened. She probably flashed her creds and felt that the woman, she saw recognition in the woman's face and put them away or something along those lines. But we don't just, as a general rule, we don't go up to just doors and just.
Yes, they certainly do. They called in homicide because there was immediately something they said very, very concerning with, oh my God, I've got another live scheduled. All right, guys, I just remembered this. I've got to jump. I've got to pull up my other stuff for my live. I forgot about that. From Toronto. Woohoo. Thank you, Annette. I love Toronto. One of the most amazing cities. Yeah, I think it's all bullshit, the whole thing. I think there's, a lot of it. Hey, Medic, good to see you, my friend. All right, guys, love you, appreciate you. You guys are amazing. I'll be live here in just a few minutes with Michael Joseph Vaughn, 5-year-old little boy who was abducted, murdered out of Fruitland, Idaho. Stranger abduction, one of the very few stranger abductions, legit stranger abductions. But again, even the stranger abduction was in the neighborhood with Michael Vaughn. All right, guys. Thank you all so much for joining me. Much love, and I will see you guys in just a little bit. Much love, everyone.